The sleepwalker's lullaby. Sleep used to be a sanctuary, a place of rest, of peace, where the worries of the day dissolved into gentle oblivion, a sweet escape. Not anymore. For me, sleep has become a battlefield, a twisted labyrinth where a grinning, clawed nightmare waits, a predator in the realm of dreams. It started subtly, a few months ago. Disjointed dreams, fragmented and unsettling, like broken shards of glass. Then came the sleep paralysis. I'd wake up, unable to move, unable to speak, my body a prison, my eyes darting wildly in the suffocating darkness, convinced there was something in the room with me, a presence I could feel but not see. That's when I first saw him, a figure in the periphery, lurking in the deepest shadows, his face a grotesque roadmap of burns, a landscape of charred flesh, his fedora pulled low, obscuring his eyes, a striped sweater barely visible in the gloom. And those claws, long, gleaming metal, impossibly sharp, each blade a promise of pain. Freddy. At first, I told myself it was just a vivid nightmare, a product of stress, a figment of an overworked mind. But then the dreams became more frequent, more structured, more terrifying. Each one a meticulously crafted descent into madness. He would be there, always, in a school hallway that stretched endlessly, its lockers filled with the whispers of forgotten screams, the air heavy with unspoken dread. In a boiler room, the air thick with scalding steam and the sickening scent of burnt flesh, the machinery groaning like tortured souls. In a familiar bedroom, twisted into a macabre playground, where toys came to life with malevolent intent. He never hurt me in the dreams at first. He would just observe, laugh. His laughter, a low, rasping chuckle, like nails on a chalkboard, was the worst part. It echoed in the dreamscape, a sound of pure malice that followed me even after I forced myself awake. Gasping for air, the line between waking and sleeping began to blur, a terrifying erosion of reality. I'd be drifting off, exhausted, my eyelids heavy, and suddenly I'd hear his voice, a low hiss in my ear, cold as a tomb. "Looks like someone's tired. Time for a little nap, eh?" I'd snap awake, heart racing, convinced I'd just heard it in my room, the words hanging in the air like a phantom presence. The fatigue became unbearable, a crushing weight. I tried everything, sleep aids that did nothing, meditation that only brought me closer to the edge, staying up all night in a desperate attempt to outrun him. Nothing worked. The moment my eyes closed, he was there, waiting. The dreams grew increasingly physical, the sensations disturbingly real. I'd feel his cold, clawed fingers brush my cheek, a phantom burn blossoming on my skin that would sometimes linger even after I woke, a faint heat on my face. I'd feel phantom blows, the crunch of bones that wasn't quite real, but felt agonizingly so, a deep ache in my limbs. One night, he grabbed my arm, his claws digging in, a searing pain that made me cry out in my sleep, and I woke up with faint, red lines on my forearm, mirroring the dream's attack, a tangible proof of his intrusion. That's when the terror truly set in. He wasn't just a nightmare anymore. He was crossing over. I became desperate, a hollow shell of my former self. I drank endless cups of coffee, energy drinks, anything to keep myself awake, my body vibrating with caffeine and fear. I'd fall asleep in my chair, slump over my desk, only to jolt awake, terrified, by the sound of his cackling or the sight of his shadow stretching across my room, a monstrous silhouette. The lack of sleep was eroding my sanity, chipping away at my mind. My eyes were bloodshot, sunken deep in their sockets. My movements jerky and uncoordinated. My friends thought I was losing my mind, muttering about stress and needing a vacation. They didn't understand. How could they? They hadn't seen the burns, felt the claws. One night, the exhaustion finally won. My body simply gave up. I collapsed into bed, too tired to fight it, too weary to even care. My dreams began instantly, not gradually, no gentle descent, but a sudden, violent plunge. I was back in the boiler room, the air thick and hot, suffocating, the smell of rust and decay overwhelming. Freddy was there, waiting for me, his presence filling the vast space. He was larger, more imposing than ever, his grin wider, a rictus of pure evil. His eyes glowing with malevolent amusement, twin embers in the gloom. "You can't escape me, little lamb," he rasped, his voice a chorus of scraping metal, a sound that grated on my very soul. "Sleep is where I live, and you're so tired, so deliciously tired." He lunged. I screamed, a silent cry in the dream world, a sound that tore through my throat but made no noise. His claws tore through my flesh, a searing pain that was too real, too visceral to be imagined. I felt the warmth of blood, saw it gushing from the wounds, a crimson river against the dark. I struggled, thrashed, my body convulsing, but I was utterly helpless, trapped in his nightmare. He was laughing, a high-pitched, gleeful sound as he raised his clawed hand for the killing blow, his face contorted in sadistic delight. And then I woke up. I gasped, sitting bolt upright in my bed, my heart hammering against my ribs, a frantic drum, convinced I was about to die, that the final blow had landed. The room was dark, but a sliver of moonlight cut through the curtains, illuminating my arm, a ghostly white. I looked down, dread filling me, a cold knot in my stomach. There was no blood, no gaping wounds, but on my left forearm there were 4 deep, angry red gashes, as if someone had dragged sharp claws across my skin with immense force. They burned, an intense, throbbing pain that was undeniably real, a searing brand. My entire body began to tremble uncontrollably, a violent shuddering that I couldn't stop. It wasn't just a nightmare. He was real. He could reach me. I leapt out of bed, adrenaline surging through me, a desperate surge of energy. I didn't care about anything but staying awake, about fighting the inevitable. I ran to the bathroom, splashed cold water on my face, stared at my reflection. My eyes were wild, haunted, dark pools of terror. I kept repeating to myself, a desperate mantra, "Don't sleep, don't sleep, don't sleep." Days turned into a blur of waking terror and the constant, crushing battle against sleep. The gashes on my arm healed, slowly, painfully, but the scars remained, raised and angry, a constant chilling reminder of his touch. I installed cameras in my room, convinced they would show me something, anything, to prove I wasn't insane, that I wasn't imagining it. They never did. Only me, tossing and turning, muttering in my sleep, sometimes flailing as if fighting an unseen enemy, a puppet on invisible strings. I'm living on borrowed time. Every yawn is a surrender. Every heavy eyelid a capitulation to the inevitable. I know he's waiting. He's always waiting. And I know, one day, the exhaustion will win completely. One day, I won't wake up. Sometimes, in the dead of night, when the house is silent and the only sound is the frantic beating of my own heart, I hear it. A faint, low, grating sound, like metal dragging across a rough surface, followed by that horrifying, playful chuckle, a sound that promises an eternity of torment. He's just beyond the veil, and he's coming for me.